In the heart of the Middle East, there's one figure who has navigated decades of revolution, war, and incredible global pressure, really shaping a nation's destiny. So let's dive in and try to get a handle on the strategic mind of Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei.
A scholar, a revolutionary, a strategist. You know, these three words, they really capture the complexity of the man we're looking at today. He's not just some political leader. His entire journey is wrapped up in deep religious scholarship, a pivotal role in a world-changing revolution, and a long, very calculated tenure as a geopolitical strategist.
So to really get a grasp on his influence today, we've got to go back to the beginning. I mean, how does a religious scholar become one of the most powerful figures in the modern Middle East? His path to power tells that exact story.
Now, if you look at this timeline, what's so interesting is how each step just builds on the last one. He was born into a religious family back in 1939, so his early life was all about Islamic scholarship. But that scholarship, it quickly turned into activism against the Shah's regime, which led him right into the heart of the 1979 revolution. And from there, wow, his rise was fast. President during the absolutely brutal Iran-Iraq War, an experience that really forged his views on self-reliance, and then finally, succeeding Ayatollah Khomeini as supreme leader in 1989. And he's been in that position ever since.
Look, anytime someone's in power for this long, it's going to be complex and controversial. And that brings us right to the core of this explainer, trying to understand the completely different ways his leadership is seen, both inside and outside of Iran.
In this slide, it just lays out that divide perfectly. On one side, his supporters see a calm, strategic leader who's deeply committed to Iran's sovereignty and self-reliance. For them, his ideological consistency is a source of national strength. But on the flip side, critics argue that this very same leadership style centralizes way too much authority, and that leads to some pretty major limitations on political dissent, the media, and civil freedoms. It's a classic case of two opposing, but very deeply held, perspectives on the same person.
So, beyond the politics, who is the man himself? Well, he's known for his deep religious scholarship and, this might surprise you, a real love for poetry. But in public, especially when he's engaging with students or officials, his persona is almost always described the same way: measured, reserved, and calculated. This disciplined, intellectual image is absolutely central to how he projects power. And that calculated leadership style hasn't just shaped Iran on the inside. No, it has profoundly influenced the country's role on the world stage, completely reshaping the geopolitics of the entire region. Central to his whole vision for Iran is this concept he calls the resistance economy. And the idea is pretty straightforward. Build up your own domestic production and become economically independent. The whole goal is to create a system that can take a punch, something that can withstand external pressures, especially international sanctions. But you probably guessed it, just like his leadership style, the results of this policy are viewed in two completely different ways. For his supporters, the resistance economy is a huge success. It's a testament to Iran's strength and sovereignty in the face of hostility. But for opponents, and a lot of others, it's a policy that has directly contributed to the economic hardship felt by ordinary people, made even worse by years of sanctions.
And of course, his influence goes way beyond economics. His fingerprints are all over some of the world's most critical geopolitical issues. We're talking about the deeply fraught relationship with the United States, the high-stakes nuclear negotiations, and Iran's role in conflicts all across the Middle East. His decisions have had consequences that have been shaping the region for decades.
It's been said that leaders aren't just defined by titles, but by the era they navigate. And for Khamenei, that era has been one of constant, intense turmoil. And that is absolutely crucial for understanding the kind of leader he became.
So, at the end of the day, whether you look at him through a lens of admiration or criticism, one thing is just crystal clear. From a revolution and a devastating war to decades of sanctions and global pressure, his steadfast presence has left an absolutely undeniable mark. History is going to debate his decisions for a long time, but his influence on the story of the 21st century, that's already written.
And this really leaves us with one final crucial question. Is a leader's legacy defined by their intentions? Maybe by their steadfastness? Or is it defined by their impact on their people and their role on the world stage? When it's all said and done, what truly defines a legacy?